Hi guys, I'm gonna do my presentation. Let me take a look at the timing. All right, so I have two sections. So later on, I will lead you guys to see a 360 image experience that I initially intend to do a VR experience of my participant who are in that space, but I can't do so. So this is what the best I have. All right, so my presentation today, I'll be presenting on my developed methodology, which is process of interiorization. I still can't pronounce it correctly until now. So it's facilitating this process into an exploration of a novel approach to fashion pedagogy. So I'm just going to give very brief introduction what I'm doing. So my research inquiry, I don't really have a specific questions when I started out with, and I don't have specific thesis statement as well, because the structure of my experimentation is not linear. So I do not have an original questions that I started out with and what I'm looking for and what kind of experimentation that I should do and stuff like that. So it's actually this exploratory journey actually opens up a line of research inquiry, and it also develop specific fashion pedagogy in my technique classes, as well. So the study explored into like emotions and memories, which I did before for this previous study, which I'm going to go into that later slightly. And what is the new findings for this experimentation for this semester? So the experimentation will covers also the process of molding the methodology through active engagement with my participant and analyzing her data, her story, her studies, whatever that she has done. And it's a very interactive communication throughout the entire semester. So background as myself, I'm a fashion designer and educator as well. I've been teaching myself for almost like 8-9 years. So just a little bit of background because the terminology is important. The technique that I'm teaching, that I am sort of like in expertise, in the area of expertise of, is draping and drafting. So for the previous study that I did with the process, I take a look at draping. Is actually a process of the original draping in fashion is actually the process of positioning and pinning fabric onto a 3D form, so which is a mannequin or human body, to develop this fluid structure of a garment design. So which is compared to drafting, which is a method of drawing patterns on a piece of paper with mechanical precision using a body measurement. Both techniques is very important and is a rigor of fashion technique, but draping will take a bit more of imaginative, creative processes because you are able to drape according to however that the designers wants. So this time round, I explore into more of the drafting side, so that is slightly more challenging because it's a taking from a mechanical precisions kind of drafting method into something that is more creatively engaged. So blind draping, just give a little bit of context as well. This is what I did for the initial process of interiorization, POI. I'm going to say POI from now on. So that requires a student or a designer. I would like to say that this method, I do not want this to just be a method for students. So I believe that designers as well, freelancers or anyone that is in this area can take up this method as a research method. So needs to close his or her eyes while doing this draping using the process of POI, right? So which asks the designer to tap into the episodic memory that will evoke the emotions or vice versa. And from this, the emotions and the feelings that is being taught in the inner self, it will be externalized to a physical product. So in that sense, it will be externalized through this technique, which is called the blind draping technique, to give a more freedom of creativity in the draping itself. So this is the experimentation that I did previously with the students. So having the eyes closed and just not using the visuals to drape out the fabric. It's just thinking about the inner thoughts. What are they thinking about? What what triggers the emotion, what emotions that they have, and then they need to project it onto a physical product. So, and with that, I came up with the diagram. So originally the diagram wasn't there, so it is kind of different. So I did the experimentation first, and then I will theorize it, and then it came up with this diagram. So this was the original diagram that I had from my previous study. So the emotions, evoking memories, vice versa, and then the POI process, which is the going into the mind as the original space, and then you have the creative output. Okay, so from here, understanding what I've done from there, then it's easier for you all to understand how it goes further for this semester work. So again, this is really my limitation. So I adopted the Robert In's research method. So it's a single case study research method. And not that because I do not want to do more, it's because I don't want my study to become like a forced study. So I rather, I told the students that I'm doing this experimentation for my MA study, and I open the questions to the floor of students and ask them that who wants to work with me, and rather than I pinpointing certain students who I want to work with, again, about their biasness. So, well, in the end, it only worked out to one student. Initially, I had two, which I did not put that in my paper because it did not go in depth. So I had two, but one didn't really work out, not because the process, it's because that of attendance and stuff like that, she doesn't come to school. So it's very difficult for me to have this process because, like I mentioned, that this process needs a very active engagement between me and the students itself. So partly it's also because the participants need to be very comfortable in sharing their inner thoughts to me, because the process requires them to do that. And it's like collecting of data together. And so when they are thinking about that, probably they are not comfortable with that at that point of time. So this participant that I decided to do with is actually the same participant that I did with my previous study, which also I think in a way is good because it's like a process and a progress from my previous study, and see how I can bring this forward to this experimentation. So the experimentation itself, like I mentioned, is a non-linear structure. So means I do not have my theory, my methods in the beginning. I started to do with my experimentations, going in and looking at the data, and then from there I have and then I structured out to have my diagrams, and then from there I will have my findings to inform my final process of interiorization. All right, so just to give a little bit of background, what the project is all about, how the student uses this as a process. So this semester, the students are given a standard project brief. So they are supposed to do a streetwear project. So this is given all to the entire level 1, and they are given this streetwear project. They can take their own views, how they want to create their design. So usually, as designers or as students, it will go by a linear kind of structure whereby I'll go into take a look what is my inspirations visually, what I can see from online, research from online, and go to somewhere, take pictures, and then use that as an inspiration for the designs. So, but for this participant that are working with me with this process, the process is slightly different. So instead of going into taking images that is visually triggered, it's more from the inner being that is triggered by the external world, and then internally, and then externalized out. So I will just go into deeper what I meant with that. So because the project is a streetwear project, so when I developed the methodology, I'll think about what it is important for the student to make sure that the process is being used like to its maximum level. All right, so I will show you guys this, the initial idea that I had. So this is separated into 2 cycles. So the first cycle and the second cycle. At this point of time, when I'm writing this, when I'm scribbling this to my students, I do not have idea what the cycle is going to be called, what is the name. I just know that I have this initial idea that the project is streetwear, let's just do this, and do this. Okay, so I do not have any structure at this point of time yet, other than my step 3, which is my POI, which I've taken from my previous study. All right, so I was just reading this book by Jonathan Smith, talking about phenomenological analysis study, like exploring experiences by simply immersing in it rather than not being explicitly being aware of it. So at that point of time, I was reading this book and I was just thinking that, okay, why not try to do this? So that was what happened. And this is the cycle that was that I mentioned earlier. So we have the cycle 1, which is the immersion process, and then the students needs to reflect on the site, and then go to the cycle 2, which is the process of interiorization. All right. So and with this, I need to share screen to you all to show the experience first before I continue. Edmund, can you help me to
co-host?
Thank you. So this is, can y'all hear the sound? Can y'all not, if y'all can hear the sound? Okay, great. So I have sort of like replicate the site that she went. So she went to Cine Leisure, which is Orchard, and she started to immerse herself in the space by closing her eyes. So this is the story that she told me. Suddenly, teenagers wearing black caps standing near me, trying to scold me. And then tall buildings start to come, and then feeling of uncomfortable. And she starts to feeling all these negativity in that space. So person with straight face just appears. So she sees a lot of black figures. And then as I just move around, so the audio that you're hearing, this audio is basically the audio that she has recorded when she was in that space, and she has shared to me, and I've used it here. So she will see something like this in her mind, loneliness, just feeling lonely, just being alone, even though the place is crowded, and she has, and this like weird kind of imagination starts to come out in her mind. She says like there's a weird island, weird stuff inside. It's like a lot of things that doesn't make sense at all.
Hold on, Lydia, the sound is not very clear.
Oh, okay.
The background music, I mean.
Is it better? Is it better?
Not for me. Can the rest hear it?
Yeah, it's a
No.
bit soft. Maybe you need to bring it louder a bit more.
Bring it a lot higher.
I can't hear at all.
Ready?
Yeah, it's quite soft.
We can raise the volume inside Zoom.
I did. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. So the sound is okay. I'll try it later. So I just want to share that she will see images like that in her mind, like a young girl is raped, and then she will hear sounds like from a car horn that reminds of accidents and stuff like that. So there's a lot of happenings actually in her mind. So why I wanted to bring this out, okay, I'm gonna stop. Okay, so why I wanted to bring that up is because that it's important to know her point at that time, to understand what is happening within her, so that I can theorize that. Yeah, so that is her experiences. So from there, she did a lot of in her creative process journal. She has all the datas, and she has her what is happening around there. So what I did was I did a very active engagement with her, talking about her data and telling her to tell me what is happening in that space and trying to analyze the data itself. So what I did was, while I was looking at that, she went to two places. One is town area, one is heartland area. And I have just highlighted certain keywords that to show you the contrast. So in town area, there's a lot of uncomfortable, disturbed moment. She's scared, there's loneliness. But in heartland, it's totally the opposite. She has like good memories, and then it's like calm and peace, and she see blooming roses. So this is important because the difference in location. So when she's in that location, she didn't use her visuals. She would close her eye and she just used her auditory to just immerse herself in it and just to hear what is happening around her. And this is what she gotten. So I think it's important because to know what is the difference and the contrast between these two locations. And with that, I'm looking into Herman Smith about felt body, how one felt body perceive when she's in that space itself. So instead of just having feeling what she's feeling at that point of time, so whatever that is happening around her in that space will make a difference. Right, so with that, I came up with this first of the diagram. This is cycle 1 diagram, which is process of immersion, I call it. So in this process of immersion, the important things that she, being the researcher, is being influenced by her surroundings and by her subconscious, and what is happening in that. The soundscape plays a big important role in that. So there's two theories that I've used for this process of immersion. One, which is the atmospheric space. So Smith mentioned that the concept of this atmospheric space in these settings, atmosphere refers to sensorial and affective quality, white space in a space, okay, in the particular shade or tone that determines how one feels about his or her surrounding, okay. And the referred space in this context is space without area. So it's the arealess, the sounds, the particular the space of sounds, the rhythmic and the tonal movement. So we are really I'm really looking into the area whereby that is area that is you're untouchable, is not there, so it's arealess. And the next one that I look into is also collective unconscious by Jung. So at this point of time, there's a mixture of struggle in my mind itself, which I wanted to do a video of this, but I didn't manage to have the time to. I was looking at Freud because as looking into this psychoanalysis, like what is happening in one's mind. So I was looking at Freud and looking at Jung. So which one of them should I really pin down my theories on? So why I decided to go with Jung is because that the presence of these archetypes, it seems like a lot of archetypes is happening within that space. The story that she told me, it divides that into a certain of archetypes from Jung theory itself. So that's why I deduce it to that, because for Freud, it's much more being affected by past memories or past feelings that she used to feel, which she doesn't have at all. Because I was talking to her, I asked her, when you see the raped girl, I was confused because I was, in my mind, I start to analyze it like what happened to her. It's sort of like a personal instinct kind of thing. So when I asked her, anything happened to you in the past? So do you see anything? Do you feel anything? Anything that is from your past memories and feelings? So there isn't any from her past memories and feelings. That's why I did not take Freud's. So I decided to go with Jung instead, because Jung looks into the future instead of the past. So that's how I came with my collective unconscious. So with this process of immersion being the cycle 1, she needs to, it's not in-depth enough to go into a creative process. There's nothing, because we as a fashion designers, we need something to really trigger us to have that physical output. So it's not like we can just leave it there and that's it. We need to have a closure or something. So that's why I bring it into process of interiorization. So what I told my participant to do is that go back and do this process of interiorization. So cycle 2 is basically she needs to go back into the comfort of a house or wherever that she wants. So process 1, cycle 1, she needs to go into the site, a site that she chose. So cycle 2, which is the POI, she needs to be in the comfort of her own space, anywhere she can. So she has chosen her bedroom, of course. So somewhere that she feels comfortable on her bed. And then she starts to do the interiorization process. So later on, I will show you the process, how it happened. So this is extracted from the interviews that I have with her. And from here, I have pull out a certain of emergent themes from, it's not just, I'm not just looking at the transcript, I was also looking at her creative process journal and all the data that she has given me. So from here, I pull out 3 main importance theme that I'm using. So memories, imaginations, and feeling. But imagination encompasses, comprise everything. So it has something to do with what she's looking at, what she's visioning in her mind, that trigger the emotions and the memories, or vice versa. So this is the diagram that this is the final diagram that I came up with. So just to show you guys the previous diagram that I did for my previous study, it's a very simple one: emotion, memory, interiorization, creative output. And the final one that I have is actually having the process of immersion, which is a very vital role in this process, as the central pivoted point, and then how it triggers to emotions and memory. Memory in this form, I'm not talking about episodic memory in her personal feelings. I'm talking about the memory that she has when she was in that space, when she was in cycle 1. So this is the memory that I was talking about, and in that memory, what kind of emotions being triggered. So the unknown space, what I so-called is as an artist space as well, where she can have all her creative processes that's happening around there, will evoke to this emergence of imagination. So the imagination will start to, so there's like a, in this part, there's like a linear process that you can move on to get these imaginations out. And from there, you will have the creative output. So I will just share the theory that I theorized after looking into all the data and creating the POI diagram. So I look into conceptual space. So conceptual space by Margaret Bowdens, which I also used in my previous study. I decided to bring this in again because I think that it is very important. It explains that the conceptual space consists of several quality dimensions, such as spatial dimensions, temperature, weight, anything can affect in that space. So the artist will embody the artist self to experience and gather these informations and to explore the creativity that's stuck in that conceptual space. So the conceptual space that we are talking about is happening in the artist space, where the shaded part of the diagram that I was talking earlier on. So next, which is the last theory that I put in, which is the emergence of imagination. There's a lot of theory of imagination, a lot. So, but I decided to pin down to Gregory Curry and even Ravenscroft because the definition of their imagination is somewhat, I feel that is similar what is happening to my participant. So like looking into the creative imagination, where you really let the mind to take control, and you have the sensory imagination, not tactile, but what is happening, what is the feeling that is getting out from there, and the recreative imagination, something that can be recreated, what she's thinking about, that what is happening in her mind. So it is important because all these mental processes, it's the compilation of whatever that is the imagination is happening in her mind at that point of time. So with that, the last part, which is the most important, crucial part that I want to talk about, is because that during my research, I've been talking a lot on the processes. I've been talking a lot on the what is happening within that space itself, the theory itself. So while I was really writing my paper in the first place, I did not think too much about the creative output, because I feel that it's just an output. It's going to be a fashion, it's going to be a garment, and that's it. But I was wrong, because and then Edmund was telling me that no, I should look into deeper. Felicia was telling me that my conclusion just die down like that. I should be looking more into that. So which I did. So I go back again to her process journal, because I keep thinking that the process is important, which is important, but I sort of have left out a little bit at the end. So when I look back, I was looking at this, the way that she has taken this creative output. She uses a lot of automatic drawing, which I introduced to her to use for her previous study, which she continued to use that because she feels that automatism drawing allows her to externalize her thoughts. So if you see here, is actually her automatic drawing that she has done when she was in that space. So this is her reflection. After she got in that space, she got out of that immersion process, she started to doodle this. So it's more like a self-expressionism. I think it's great because this automatism is initially was founded by the surrealist writer. In the end, it was pioneered by the surrealist artist, Andrew Mason, to use this as a form of expressioning creativity. So it's good that she has decided to use this method. So this is the drawing that she has did when she was in Cine Leisure. And this is the drawing that she did when she was in Toa Payoh. So what I did not do is actually to go into visual psychoanalysis. So I don't think my paper has that room for me to go deeper into that. But what I would love to do next time, I would really go into visual psychoanalysis. So from the lines that I'm just looking at here, that Toa Payoh, which is more, the feelings that is there is good, positivity, a lot of curved lines, a lot of refined lines, but you see that in Cine Leisure, there's a lot of mixtures of lines, there's a lot of things going on, there's, you can see that there's a very contrast from that drawing itself as well. So, and how did the automatism drawing lead to fashion design? So I decided, I was just talking to her and having this interactive moment like, so what are you gonna do? You can't do draping because streetwear project, she's supposed to do like a jacket and a pants, so there's no requirement of a draping. So, and then we're just thinking, I was just thinking a lot in my head, like, let's do blind drafting. I don't even know what blind drafting is. So basically drafting, like what I mentioned earlier, is really to draw on a piece of paper with a mechanical precisions in measurements. With this, she does not have a mechanical measurements in her drafting at all. So what she did was, she asked me how to do. I said, I don't know, just close your eyes and just draw. Let's see what's came out of there. Seriously, I really have no idea how to do this. And I'm like, I can't, I'm the teacher here. I need to lead her to go into this. So this is what she did. So she literally have like lines here and there. I was like, how is this even possible? It doesn't look like a garment at all. So, and then after a few rounds of, moving back and forth, so she decided to incorporate the lines that she has drawn earlier to become this a very irregular kind of lines. This was originally drawn from her automatism drawing in her blind drafting. So, and then how she uses these lines, she created this into a graphical manipulation using different type of fabrics. So I will go into that the next one. So yeah, so from here, I think as a lecturer, I try to facilitate her in a way that she's able to reflect on her own findings and data instead of me telling her what to do. So most of the time, students, now especially in level 1s, they will come to you and say that, okay, what do I do next? What kind of fabric do you think that I should use? Is it A or is it B? So I am sort of like the anchor point for them. But for this time around, during this process, I throw back the question. So she came to me with 2 fabric and asked me, which one should I use? So I throw it back to her and ask her that, which one do you think you should use? And which one do you think, go back again to that space of mind. So if you're thinking about the red girl, what do you think the red girl should be wearing? So questions like that. So I throw her back questions for her to think about. So these 2 fabrics is black, you can't see, but one is a little more, I wouldn't say translucent, but if you put under the light, you actually can see the light through. So I asked her, one is more opaque, one is a little bit more less opaque. So which one do you want to use? So probably the dark, the one that is opaque will give you a certain closure, or the other one doesn't want to give you a certain closure. So she decided to think about it herself, and then she said this. She has chosen this because she wanted to expose the story. So she just decided to go with the not that opaque fabric because she wanted to expose the story to the light. So I think she created a story of her own. In a way, the garment has become like storytelling via a garment itself. So this is the interesting part, whereby she has a lot of different fabrics, and she started to pinpoint she started to write a lot of reflection, what kind of fabrics meant what to her in her mind. And I think this is very important and crucial for her findings as well. So she continued taking the automatic drawing to become an automatic writing. So what she did was that she closed her eyes and she started to write the story all over again when she was in that process. But what is the surprise to me here is that when I was reading this, I realized that this wasn't the story that she told me. There's a certain kind of twist in the story, which is great again, because she goes back to that process again. She starts to have new findings, she starts to have new imaginations, and she has a conversation with the character in her mind, which I think is a very great way of telling a story. So this is just the garments that she printed on her automatic graphic. Yeah, so I'm just going to show you very quickly, running out of time, and the final garment that she did. So it's a jacket and a pants, and all her automatic drawing is there, and the panelings of the fabrics are there, and she managed to finish that. So in my conclusion, I just want to bring out the point again. To me, as a lecturer, as an educator, as a facilitator, I think it's important for me to have the active engagement during the process itself. I think that's what is missing in a lot of technique classes, not like internally kind of active engagement. It's much more on the physical, on the surface area. And again, bringing back experience by Dewey. Dewey is saying that experience is really by doing. It's not just experiencing what is happening. So in this case, her garment is actually the experience object itself, not just a certain object of its own. And there's no right way of thinking. So it's important that the students is able to take control and take lead of their own projects in that way. Yeah, and then just a validation. I've added this in. I've added in my paper as well that I don't want to, I'm not sure what is the correlation here, and I also don't want to deduce anything, but when she was using this process for 2 times round, she has got the highest and she has topped in class. I can't say anything much to that because I did not test with any other further students. It might be coincidental, it might be the process, it might be everything. So this is a question that I asked her, which has given me just last night. I asked her about this. So do you think that the research method is useful for her work? So she feels that the main key is to open up the creative ideas inside her mind, because the process gives her new things that she could explore, and it makes her think and questioning about the deeper creative output. I think this is very important as a designer, to keep thinking and what is the new thing that I can do instead of just going on with the norm. So I believe that this process has opened up a whole new kind of research methodology in fashion pedagogy itself. So I asked her as well, moving forward, will you use the method for a future project? She feels that it's interesting. This is the answer. I would love to work with this again for my future project. What she says is really my limitation as well. It's not an easy thing to do. It needs deeper concentration to really absorb and put yourself in, especially when it turns into the emergence output or environment that she's not familiar with. So I really want to thank her. I think she's here, and that she really managed to really immerse herself and just give her 101% into this project, right? So my last one, I think, yes. So I feel that the method is the theoretical findings to this is instrumental to this methodology. I can have a lot of different theory, but I decided to go with this for now. So for future using of this process, I might have a new findings, I don't know. So, and I feel that this kind of qualitative method can help designers to better understand the importance of personal feelings and emotions in the unconscious mind, which I think it could be potentially a primary source for a design approach, instead of just using external stimuli or external inspirations from images. Yeah. And limitation to this project, as I was mentioning all along the presentation, I have a number of limitations, being the case study. I'm not sure whether it's triangulated enough, and it needs a lot of time. It needs a lot of effort for the participants to really work with me. It's really a long process, but I think the result is very fruitful. So I'm happy where I am with this process at this point of time. With that, I end my presentation.
Woo! Thank you, Lydia. Okay, do we unpin you? Okay, I'm gonna unpin you.
Yes, you can unpin me. I'm trying to off this.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, questions for Lydia. I see everyone now. Okay, questions for Lydia. If you need to speak, please unmute yourself.
That's scary.
Oh, I would just say fantastic. Like, I think your approach to me is the two different directions. I'm always talking about precision, figures, number, everything must set up properly. You know, I don't want anything unpredictable happening. But yours is like, I don't care. I want whatever thing is possible along the way. I have been amused by the way how you present your research and finding. Yeah.
Very impressive technological support there, Lydia, in terms of the overlay of your Prezi video and all. So that's really, really innovative and
Thank you.
very powerful in terms of how you presented the visuals. Yeah, so good job on that.
Okay, too bad the sound doesn't work. Yeah, for the experience, but I will show you the link so that you can take a look at it. Yeah.
Questions?
I was just a little curious about the data collection. I know that you did a lot of journaling, right, and interviews and stuff like that. But I understand in the writing that you've also got block quotes, you know, of the participants, and I wonder how that was collected.
Sorry, have what?
Block quotes of conversations between yourself and So were there recordings that were done between you and the participants?
Yeah, so the recordings was, what she did was that because during the process of emergence or the interiorization process itself, I wasn't there because she was at that space at her own time and she was at her house. So what she did was every time when she has done that process, she'll come back to me and then she will share to me her findings. So everything that is, whatever that she has said, it's recorded. So the blog quotes that I've taken up from there is actually from whatever that she has told me, and as well by looking at her journal, because I understand that when a person is in that process, she experienced it, it might be very different from the next moment where she tried to recall what is happening in that process. So I acknowledge that. So that's why when she started to say something about like, you know, I don't have past memories, I don't have past, I don't see any images. And then when I take a look at her CB journal, I will say that, but you mentioned this, which is opposite, the contradict of whatever that she said. And then she tries to, again, look back and explain again. So I just try to list this down in words so that I can link everything back up together. But I know that I'm not using Freud because there really isn't any past experiences that she has experienced before. So I did not go with Freud in that point. Is it done? My time's up?
No, your time is not up.
Oh my God. I thought I spoke for very long already.
You know, I'm talking and then I realized that y'all can't hear me.
Oh
my God.
All right, Durga.
I forgot everything. Wait. I took down notes. I'm sorry. My students are going on the other side. Oh, bloody hell.
Durga, are you going to speak?
I was going to tell you, Lydia, that the immersing without awareness concept, I think, is interesting for all of us. It kind of, I think, crosses over all our work to a certain extent. And maybe we could all use that as well to a certain point. in our practice. I don't know how we would do it. Like what Grant was saying, a lot of us work with structure every time. And perhaps at some point of time, somewhere in the curriculum, we can have this as a component. I don't know how. In all our different disciplines, I think. Later, tell me who that guy is you're talking about. It's a phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
Immersing without any awareness. I think I like that idea of not having an experience. That's what we spoke about in mind. Like there is cultural memory in everything we do, and so we do certain things according to social norms, and we can't help ourselves. And I think maybe this can help us to come away from that as well. I just wanted to say that it's brave to be able to put a student into that space.
Yeah, she's really great. She's that's why I say I can't really I don't know, my validation is like valid in the first place because she's really a good participant to work with. So I'm not sure what will happen if I'm going to work with another total different character. So I really have no idea. But I'm taking this approach for next year again into the curriculum, and I'll just see how it goes. Yeah.
I think you've taken the step already, so we just need to try it out. I mean, I feel the same way as well. I couldn't do this project with a lot of other dancers. It would not have worked out the way, nothing would have come out of it, maybe, you know. So I think there is a lot of work that goes into it, and maybe we need more time, I think.
Yeah.
I want to echo...
Sheila is here.
Oh.
My participant is here. I still have 4 minutes, is it?
Yeah, 3 minutes.
My participant is here. So Sheila is here.
She's not online,
I asked her to... Yeah, she's like shy. She's mute. So I asked her to join is because that she hasn't really seen my entire finished project. So I think it's a good point of time as well because she has finished all her and she just received her summative result like yesterday. She got top in class again. So woo! Good job for her. Yeah. So so in this the project that she used for these semesters, which is not the streetwear, so there's another project which is called ethnic wear. She didn't use fully the POI process, but somewhat she has managed to link a certain idea from the POI and make it into her own. She continued the automatism drawing. Yeah, it was a very good project. Yeah, so I believe it will go somewhere. This process. Yeah, I just don't know where it will go. Yeah.
I echo Durga's sentiment that you really took the courage and went deep into something completely exploratory, something you're not even prepared to go with because it's completely unstructured, right? It's almost like going into an uncharted territory. So you brought your student to the point where you just went with your gut instinct. And then when you start putting the theories into place and creating your framework, it became very clean and very nice. Of course, it's not so nice in the process, but it's visually it's very, very pretty to look at, very elegant, and then we understood how to take it forward. And like what Durga is saying, we can always use now Crispin's 2020's POI process, to get your participants to, but it's very interesting how a lot of you are using closing eyes as a method to immerse yourselves or get the participants to immerse themselves into a particular activity. So that process of closing eyes seems to be a very important feature in all the works right now, is emerging. And I see your optimism drawing similar to what Alicia's.
Alicia, yes.
Yeah. So a lot of connections, definitely.
So LaSalle's show will be titled Close Eyes.
Ours is called Rice Bowl or something.
Oh, okay. Same thing only.
All right, 1 more minute. You need a break. Oh, any other questions for Lydia? All right, well done, Lydia. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sheila, for joining us. We'll have a 1.5 minute break, and then we'll come back for Hector's, right?